Hey, this is Kiana V hanging out with Rob on Front Row Live.
What's up, guys? Rob here, Front Row Live Entertainment. I am reunited with Kiana V, and I'm excited to be here in the studio with you. New music just dropped, and
I am so excited.
Things are happening. Yes, absolutely. How has this progression been for you? Just as you are now starting to release more material, but I feel like you've kind of continued to discover yourself and your sound and your lane in this music.
I've really been just taking things a day at a time and letting things flow naturally.
Yeah.
I think that when I got into the music industry, I didn't really know what I was getting myself into, really.
Yeah.
Because I grew up in it, but really committing to it and dedicating so much time and effort and blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah, basically.
It pulls something out of you. It pulled something out of me that I didn't really expect.
Mhm.
And so I think my evolution, comparing who I am today to who I was when I first started releasing music, I mean, it's just a drastic difference.
No, absolutely. And the last time you and I spoke, you were in the process of releasing Save Me, which was, See Me.
Oh yeah, See Me. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, you were in the process of releasing the album
Such
See
a
Me,
long time
and
ago.
like I feel like you've just listening to your vocals today, you've really like created this lane and executed it like insanely, just because your voice is the thing that like really drew my attention most recently, because it's like I feel like back then you were sure but unsure at the same time.
Oh, I was 100% unsure.
And then now we listen to your music and it's like, no, I'm sure. Like, this is my sound.
Yes, finally. I was actually talking about this recently. I was on like a little Q&A on TikTok.
Yeah.
And I mentioned that when I was recording See Me, I was being so careful with my voice because I was healing through this like surgery that I went through when I was in my teenage years and all that. So I was way in my head about my voice. And now that I've learned how to protect it, how to properly, vocalize and stretch and all of that, I think that I've unlocked a different side of it. And I'm continuing to do that, which is really crazy. Again, like even when I play back, I'm like, why do I sound like I'm overthinking?
But it's not bad. It's not bad. But you can tell that you're trying to stay safe.
Yes.
Let's just say that you're trying to stay safe. But I feel like now with Sana, the new single, it's a powerhouse. Like your voice is a power vocal now, and it's I'm curious like how that has evolved for you. Like, do you feel like this has been like a natural progression for you, or do you feel like it's been an active evolution that you've been working towards?
I'd say it's been an active evolution. I mean, I've been putting myself out there. I've been studying what I can. Also, again, with just how to really protect my voice while also projecting.
Yeah.
I've had amazing mentors. I've been in the studio with incredible collaborators who also push me.
Yeah.
Where they're like even learning to sing while smiling and how that affects the voice, or like frowning.
Huge difference,
Huge difference. And the intention behind every word is so crucial as well. And so I think that it's just my voice is growing up with me. And all the knowledge that I'm absorbing from everyone around me is now like clinging to how I sing, which is pretty cool. It's cool that you mentioned that, because I've come to that realization lately too.
No, it's apparent. It's apparent to see that like you are in this lane where you are like, this is me, this is Kiana V. But it's also your head voice is just like, how do you do it? Because you will go on a whole song with head voice, and like I'm like trying to breathe while I'm listening to it, but you're like, I'm good, I'm chilling.
No, I don't know. I think when I was younger, I didn't know how to, like, I wasn't formally trained.
Yeah.
And I was so envious of all these artists that could belt, and I never could. And I just didn't have the confidence to really push myself. And so I just go into that safe area, however, though, sometimes it is like a crutch. So that's something that I have to work through, because I'll freak out a little and go straight into that little pocket that I feel comfortable in. So
That's like home for you.
yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, definitely. But thank you.
Absolutely. With this new single, I love that you brought back a piece of history with your parents. Talk to me a little bit about the idea that kind of inspired this. Like, how did it really kickstart? And, you know, how did that little piece that you added impact the actual songwriting?
Well, the whole song was based on that little piece.
Yeah.
I would say that it was one of those moments we were at the right place at the right time with the right people.
Yeah.
This was 2 years ago, and I was coming off of a tour with my dad. And that Sana Maulit Muli was the song that I was singing with him.
Yeah. So it just made
And
sense.
so it was like constantly in the back of my head, and I literally, you know, got off of a show with my dad in New York, flew to LA the next day, and got on this songwriting camp. And this was my very first time to experience a songwriting camp where you jump from room to room and you meet new collaborators.
It's like speed dating.
Exactly. But on that day specifically, we had a panel, and people on the panel were talking about how we could empower our communities to be, I guess, more proud of our roots, and how we could amplify our Filipino voices, and everyone in our group really took that to heart. And I guess the mix of me being with my dad, hearing that amazing panel discussion, being in a room with like all Filipinos, just did something. And I suggested, what if we sample one of my dad's songs? And Rose was like, oh, what about Sana Maulit? And I was like, that's exactly, like, you're in my head, because that's exactly the one I was thinking about too.
Yeah.
And it just, the moment we picked which section we wanted to sample, it just flowed, and we were done with the song by the end of the night. So, I mean, most camps, that's how it works. But with this one, it just felt, again, right time, right place, right people.
That's awesome. It's cool because, as we were mentioning earlier, I'm not Filipino by blood. I'm Filipino by heart, and the ones I grew up with. Yes. So, but it's funny when you first released the song, and I heard that snippet in the intro, I was like, whoa! I remember like being at my sister's house, or being at like my close friend's house, and like that song would be playing, or like anything of your dad, but in that similar, I think it was that album that would be playing, and I was like, whoa.
Well, that album's crazy, because every song on that album is a hit. Till this day is like an iconic song. So it's that song in particular, though, it's extremely sentimental, because my dad wrote the music, but my mom wrote the lyrics.
That is cool.
And so to take that and then add my spin on it with like these new amazing friends that I've made, we're just adding a little bit of lore to the family.
But I mean, it's a song that is going to be, it's everlasting, and you just added more of a reason for it to definitely be everlasting.
It will go on.
When you came into it and started to write your own lyrics, did you feel pressure, because it was already a masterpiece as it was? So did you feel pressure that it was like, okay, now I'm going to put my 2 cents into it?
A little. I think there were moments where I was overthinking it a little bit, but I don't know. There was just so much. I was just so comfortable in that room.
Yeah.
And the beat was so great. And we were just having a good time. So there are moments like that where you feel like you can get a little lost in your head. But if you're surrounded by the right environment, then you can kind of pull yourself out, or they pull you out.
Yeah.
So there was a tiny moment there. Yeah. But good support system, great group to be with. We got out of it really quick.
What was it about this song that you wanted it to be that first release? I feel like this is the first release of a body of work that you're currently working on. So why did you feel like this was that perfect introduction for this new era of Kiana?
Well, for the longest time, I felt a little lost with where I wanted to take the music and what direction I wanted to go, because as an artist, it's always fun to experiment and explore, but you reach a point where you have to make a decision.
Right.
Not so much as like to put yourself in a box, but again, when creating a a body of work, you do have to decide like, all right, where am I taking this really? What's the story sonically? Where am I living? And we were listening to all the demos. And I think for the longest time, I was in denial that Sana was my North Star. Because in my head, I was like, it can't be. Like, again, really? My dad is my North Star again?
I mean, you should have known that from the beginning.
I know, but this is the thing. Like, even trying to avoid like songwriting and singing, this is something that I did my whole life. So if there's one thing about me, it's that I'm such a late admitter. Like, it's not even like a late bloomer. It's like I know the answer, I just don't want to admit it. I'm constantly in denial. But
bahala ka sa buhay mo. That's like basically you.
No, it's not even bahala ka, it's bahala na. It's like whatever. But yeah, when we finally decided, or when I listened to everything and I kept an open mind, it just made sense that Sana would be the door into this new world. And the moment I made that decision, everything flowed out. It was like, okay, I want to write about this and sing about this. I want to like sound this way. I want to open this world. I want to, and sometimes it's just a matter of, to which I said earlier, committing to the bit.
But isn't it crazy like how that one little decision just changed your whole trajectory of like what's to come?
Yeah. I mean, again, like this project has taken so many different forms and shapes over the past 2 years because I have been trying to piece it together for that long. And I think finally now we're almost there. Like we're so close to just getting out of the studio and doing all the other hard work. Like it doesn't end.
I mean, this is what you signed up for.
I know.
How do you feel that your relationship with Drea kind of impacted your creative process as well? Just because I feel like you collaborate together so much.
Oh, Drea Rose is amazing. She and I think we got connected through a mutual friend. And she's been so patient with me because there'll be times I come into the room and she's like, what are we making today? And I'm like, okay, so if you listen to this band from like 2011, but then this artist from 2002, if they had a child, what would that sound? She's like, okay. But all my collaborators over the past 2 years, like Drea, Dela, Rose, and now that the group keeps growing, I'm like a sponge. I just love learning from all of them, and I'm taking so much knowledge from each and every one of them because they all bring something unique to the table, and it's amazing being this close to that much talent. I'm honored to be working with all of them.
And you're also giving your 2 cents to other people as well. You collaborated on Let It Go recently with Jules Aurora.
Oh yeah.
And the songwriting. So like talk to me a little bit about like this time stepping into the session, but not as the artist, as the songwriter. How different was that and how impactful was that for you?
I think if anything, it's solidified the fact that I love being in the studio more than I do love being on stage.
Wow.
Like it just, I really, while I do love being on stage, I love performing.
But do you feel like it's like more of a stage fright situation?
I think it is. It is. But with being in the studio, there's an openness. We have amazing conversations. You just never really know where the energy is going to take you.
Right.
And I've always loved Jules. She and I, every time that we bump into each other, every time that we have conversations, it's just so easy. It flows so nicely. And she's such a sweet girl. And so like coming into the room, hearing her story and helping her tell that story, it was nice to put a different hat on. And I got, to experience what it feels like to have to be extremely delicate as well, because it's not my story I'm telling. I want to know exactly how you want to say it.
I want to make sure that you're sensitive to that.
I want to be sensitive. I want to make sure that she's getting all her intentions across, and I loved it. I really did love it.
Now, going back from experiencing that and experiencing that sensibility to jumping back to your material,
Mm-hmm.
do you feel like that really impacted you in your creative process? Like, did it change anything or the way that you write your music or think about your music now?
Well, I think that um, with my creative process, I just, again, I'm very open,
Yeah.
and so working with Jules really did open my mind. And even hearing her story, I added some of her little, the way that she speaks
Yeah.
and the words that she uses to express herself. I added some of those into my arsenal as well,
Yeah.
which is great,
That's cool.
and just the manner in which she works as well is something that I admire. Her work ethic is
Yeah.
like, you can't compare her to anyone.
Yeah.
She's really great, and she knows exactly what she wants, and she fights for it. And being around women like that is incredibly empowering.
Right.
And yeah, I'm glad that I get to be surrounded by women like her, because you're right, it does affect and impact the way that I work as
Yeah.
well.
I love that you mentioned that you put a little bit of that into your arsenal, because going back to listening to your older material to now, I feel like you're also more confident with ad libs. You feel more natural just throwing
Right.
things in and seeing what sticks. Do you feel like that has been a drastic change, especially on this new material that you've been working on? Do you feel more comfortable just throwing in these ad libs?
I
Or is it
do.
just me just thinking
No,
too
no, I
much?
do. I do. I mean, like, I've worked with a bunch of guys in Manila who have, really talked me through
Yeah.
a lot of my fright. And there have been times that I've been in the booth and they're like, we're really not going to listen. We'll leave the room and we'll leave the mic on and you do whatever you want. And it's given me that confidence where I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, they're confident that I can do it.
Yeah.
I have to be confident that I can do it. But really, sometimes I'll do something and they'll just be quiet and they're like, I really think that you can do better than that. I'm like, okay. God. But again, it takes a lot of I'm just, it might be a bad thing, but I'm easily influenced by the energy in the room.
Yeah.
And so if I can sense that there's a little bit of doubt,
Oh,
sometimes,
that's dangerous.
yeah, sometimes it'll get in my head and I'm like, oh, if they're unsure of me, then
Yeah.
then why are they unsure of me? And I
Oof.
have something I need to fix or whatever. However, there are days where I'm like, whatever, I'll show you.
Yeah.
So
Give me that mic.
give me the net mic. But yeah, it really does help to have collaborators who don't take no for an answer.
Yeah.
They're like, just keep going, do it again. I know you could do better than that. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. And I will.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you're finding yourself. I'm glad that you're understanding like who you are as an artist throughout this whole process. And I guess to close us off, because you are currently working on that body of work, like what do you feel has been the biggest challenge for you lately? I know the challenges has always been like the stage fright or like not believing in yourself, but like in the recording studio, what do you think it's been? Or in the writing session, what do you think it's been?
I overthink a lot instead of just saying what I want to say or
Yeah.
doing what I want to do. One of the songs that we've been working on, the hook is literally a phrase that I spoke, and I was like, I want to say something like this. And I said it out loud. I was like, wait, okay, we need to figure out a melody because that doesn't sound terrible, and I
Yeah.
actually like how that sings.
Nice.
And usually I will take that and try and, I don't know, try and sound smarter or try and find a deeper way to say things.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a minute, it's not that deep. We're singing about life experiences, hoping that
It is
we
what it
build
is.
connections with other people, right? So that's been a challenge for me. It's like, get out of your head.
Yeah.
Don't overthink it. Go with what feels right and do your best. But what this one thing that I keep telling myself is like, if I can be honest that I've put in the work and that I've done my absolute like 150% best,
Yeah.
then I'm good. Because you can hear it when I'm not. I can
Right.
hear it, especially. I'll hear like one little thing and I'm like,
It has to go.
I had the time to change that and I didn't because I was scared to speak up. And
Yeah.
now I'm just like, no. We can't, like, we won't overthink it, but we know when we've done our best.
Yeah.
And we know when we haven't. So the goal is just to always be the best version.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited for the new material. I'm excited to see
Me
this growth of
too.
yours. So thank you so much for uniting with me.
Thank
I'm
you for
excited for this
having me.
moment. Do me a favor when you start heading home, go on Spotify, listen to this artist Kiana V. She has really good music.
Oh my gosh.
So
I will. I will.
so
Check her
yeah,
out.
please check her out. But thank you so much for hanging out with me. You guys be
Thanks for
sure to check
having
out
me.
Kiana V. New single Sana is out now, and thanks for watching here on Front Row Live.